Everybody, welcome to the show. Around the Nation right here, TYT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. So it's Friday afternoon. We've got a great show for you guys today. A lot of stuff happening all around the world and the nation, and of course, pretty much in my backyard. I'll explain. One of the big stories that we have for today. Yes, we're going to be talking about guns. We're going to talk about a couple of, at least a shooting that's going on. And then we're going to be talking about Republican reactions to all the recent shootings. We're going to switch gears. We'll talk about John Kelly. We got some drama in the White House. When is there not drama in the White House? We got Jared Kushner. We'll be talking about that as well. Some shady dealings and corruption. Kim Davis makes a return. Oh, you're going to love that story. And then, of course, the story that I promised yesterday. Alex Jones is being sued for sexual harassment. Me Too has come for Alex Jones. And, of course, it's a false flag. False flag. Or...
it's the devil, okay?
It's the devil. It's the devil. It also could be...
it is an alien force, not of this world.
I don't know. I don't know. But whatever it is...
it's not human intelligence!
Okay? We're going to have fun with Alex Jones. So, all that and more, of course, right here around the nation. Please, if you haven't already, give us a like and a share. And so you can all join in the festivities. And, of course, if you want to support the show, you can use the Super Chat, or you can go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/TYTNation. Help keep us independent and non-corporate sponsored. So, like I said, we got a lot of stuff today. Let's start out with something in my neck of the woods. Oh, boy. Well, we've had another high-profile shooting, this time at Central Michigan University. Now, Central Michigan University, of course, is a pretty big campus. It's got about 20,000 students, one of the biggest universities in the country. And it also happens to be in the same place that I live. So I'm literally several blocks away from what happened earlier. And what happened, of course, is that there was a young man by the name of, and this is the only time I'm going to say that, James Eric Davis. Now, he's a 19-year-old student who was enrolled in the college, and, of course, he went to the college earlier this morning and shot 2 people. Now, what happened is the reports are that he didn't shoot any fellow students, that this wasn't like your typical, and I hate saying this because there's nothing typical about this, but in America, we have a school shooting or a mass shooting like every couple of days, it seems like. But in this case, this was not a mass shooting. 2 people were confirmed killed, but they were not students of the school. So allegedly what happened is that this was a domestic incident. That's what they're calling it. This is Larry Kloss of the CMU campus police. Quote, "We believe the situation was a domestic-type incident." And then, of course, they said, well, he's been running off somewhere. So the shooter is literally still at large. They have not caught the guy yet. Officer Jeff Brown of the Mount Pleasant Police Department said, quote, "We believe the subject is in the city limits now." So, great. Now, Kloss did not say what sparked the shooting, but said the police had contact with Davis overnight for a drug-related incident of some kind. Davis was taken to McLaren-Macomb Medical Center and released. And then, of course, after he was released about 8:30 or 9:30 a.m., that's when he decided to go into the school and shoot those 2 people, which, of course, according to sources, were actually his parents picking him up for spring break. So, again, this is not a mass shooting. This seems to have been personal, possibly related to something to do with drugs or something. I don't know. Again, with a lot of these shootings, a lot of the details are very, very hazy, and we don't tend to know a lot. But this gets me to the greater point. You think it's not going to happen in your area. I mean, look, you hear people all the time, oh, it's terrible what's going on. But it's never going to happen here, right? No, it will happen. We have more guns than people in this country. Of course it's going to happen. It will eventually make it to your neighborhood. And again, it doesn't always have to be a mass shooting. It could be something like this, which is still equally devastating. The entire town, most of it is pretty much on lockdown. I mean, there are people in the school that are still in the school. These guys are roaming free around town right now. So that's what's going on here. And again, if you don't think it's going to happen to you, it can definitely happen to you. It can happen anywhere, because in this country, we have so many people that can have access to so many guns. This is why we actually need to do something about it. Okay. I don't think there's much more that I can really add to that. We got to do something. Okay. Now let's go to Fox News. Wow, that's a weird place to go. So, former Representative Jason Chaffetz of Utah, he's now a Fox News contributor. Basically, he quit because, I don't know, he didn't want to get tied to Donald Trump anymore. He's like the one guy, or one of the few people, that was actually supposed to basically keep tabs and punish Donald Trump if he was found doing anything wrong. Hold Trump accountable. He's like, no, I'm not interested in that job. You know what I'm going to do? Is I'm going to quit the House of Representatives. I'm going to go right to Fox News so I can get a paid speaking slot, right? So he's a contributor, as I said, to Fox News. And so one of the things that's happening today is Billy Graham's funeral. So Billy Graham's, of course, evangelical, one of the guys who's been very, very anti-gay. So that's going to play into things. Not into this story necessarily, but nonetheless. You want to criticize him for his record on gay rights, 100%. I'm more than happy to do that because his beliefs are abhorrent. But to somebody like Jason Chaffetz, his beliefs are absolutely fine. And in fact, he believes that victims of school shootings. Look, we had a school shooting today, not only in Dallas, but we had it in Mount Pleasant as well, at the CMU campus. And this follows almost immediately Parkland. Now, Chaffetz, he's going to basically reference Parkland and tie it into how we need more God in schools, and we just need more God in general. In fact, take a look.
Well, what does it mean, Jason, for these members to put a pause on their day and their daily business to reflect on this life?
I'm proud of the Speaker and the Majority Leader and everybody who supported this to make this happen. Reverend Graham, it just impacted millions of lives. And we need more good news, more good message, more of the good word reaching out to America. I think of those kids who went back to school today, you know, after that horrific shooting, and they need something more. They need a belief in God and in Jesus Christ. I think that would help. And this is a historic moment.
The Parkland kids, you just need more God. You just need more Jesus in your life. Then everything is going to be okay. Look, I'm not going to go and trash people who are religious, who find some sort of comfort in religion. Hey, man, that's fine, right? In fact, some of the things that I like about religion, even though I don't practice any religion myself, is community and how people can get together and they can get through tragedy. And look, probably some of the Parkland students are likely religious themselves. But at the same time, no, they do not need more Jesus. They do not need more God. They don't need a belief in Jesus Christ. What they actually need to do is to continue taking action. And that's exactly what the Parkland students have been doing. And I think this was, look, in my opinion, I think it's a bit of a shot at them. Maybe it was not meant as a cheap shot at them. But look, you see all these kids out here that are protesting and that are organizing. They're going to do a march on Washington. They're going to try and push for common sense gun regulations. They're actually doing something. And Jason Chaps is like, well, you just need more Jesus in your life. To me, that's like the equivalent of saying, no, don't do that. Let's just do what we've always done and give thoughts and prayers. That's what you need. You need more Jesus, less gun control, more Jesus. Again, that's what I'm getting from this. And maybe I'm being incredibly unfair to Chaffetz. Again, I don't have any problem with people taking comfort in religion. In fact, I think that's a good thing about religion. But also, I don't know. Again, he didn't say anything about the marches or anything like that. And it goes back to the standard talking point of, we just need more thoughts and prayers. And, oh, look at that. The reason that these things happen is because there is no Jesus in schools. That's something that I hear all the time. I don't know. It's just one of those things that really kind of bothers me because no, we need more action. Okay. And if you're going to bring up Parkland, then bring up the fact that they're doing action instead of just saying, well, you just need more Jesus in your life. Because some of these Parkland students might have a lot of Jesus in their life. And that obviously is not always enough. Okay. Not going to spend too much time on that. So let's go to actual action, or lack thereof. So it's been a couple of weeks since the shooting that happened in Florida, the Parkland shooting. And earlier today, we actually just had two shootings at different schools. So we had one in at the campus in CMU, and also shots fired at the situation in one of the Dallas schools. So, look, Congress... Look, American people are asking for Congress to actually do something about shootings. In fact, I've got some polls here. There's a CNN poll that said over 70% of the American people back stricter gun laws. Okay, not only that, but they actually want Congress to take action. A majority of Americans, according to a new Marist poll, say that, look, their views, politicians' views on gun control and on gun ownership will have a big impact on the upcoming midterms. More than 8 in 10 Americans, 85%, said a candidate's view on gun control will affect their vote, including 59% who said such positions would be a major factor in their vote. So look, Americans are pretty much tuned in to this issue. This is a really important issue, especially after all of these mass shootings. Now, in response to this, what is the Senate going to do under Republican leader Mitch McConnell? Nothing. In fact, today, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announced that the Senate will now turn to deregulating the banks next week. Now, McConnell told reporters in the Capitol as senators were casting their final votes of the week, saying, quote, "We'd love to do that at some point. I'm hoping there is a way forward." Asked if there would be a way forward on guns, McConnell replied, "No, we're going to go with the Crapo bill next week." Now, what's that? Well, he was referring to Senate Banking Committee Chairman Mike Crapo. Now, Crapo is a Republican, and I have a lot of fun saying his name. He's a pile of Crapo, or at least his bill is a pile of Crapo. And he has authored a measure to make changes to the Dodd-Frank banking law. Now, according to the New Republic, this bill, which would be a massive deregulatory bill, proposes a major rollback of the 2010 Dodd-Frank Act. Now, this is called, get this, the Economic Growth Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act. I think at least it's 1 out of 3. And for a Republican, 1 out of 3 ain't bad. Regulatory relief, absolutely for sure. Consumer protection, not so much. In fact, the effect that it would have would likely be to the detriment of consumers. Now, they write in the New Republic, quote, although there are several elements to the bill, the most eye-popping provision is a significant shift in which banks are considered systemically important, and thus subjected to greater oversight and tighter rules. Currently, banks with $50 billion in assets fall into that category. The proposal would move the threshold to $250 billion, a 500% jump that would erase the mandate of enhanced scrutiny for 25 of the 38 largest banks in the country. So what happened? This Dodd-Frank, of course, is a response to the 2008 financial crisis, on which we did not watch these banks. These banks, as I said, if you have $50 billion in assets, that is actually a lot of money. A lot of the major banks that failed in 2008 had that, or had around that threshold. That's why Dodd-Frank said, okay, we're going to set our threshold here for systemically important. This is all part of too big to fail. We're going to set that to that limit so we can watch these banks and make sure that they don't set themselves up to crash and fail, just like they did in 2008. Well, now Republicans are like, well, we're gonna have to deregulate these banks because we don't want this oversight. We want to continue to make more and more risky loans. We want to play the Wall Street casino and make sure that our shareholders make more and more money. And that's exactly what's going on. When you take away that enhanced scrutiny for, as I said, 25 of the 38 largest banks, then you set up the conditions for another financial crisis. That is the problem here. Okay? So that's what this bill does. Now, back to the whole point about gun control. Now, as I said, gun control is a really, really big issue in this country. There's a lot of people who care deeply about it on both sides, obviously, and the Senate has basically admitted we don't care. What we're going to do instead of talking about this really important issue and having debates on what, if not, any gun control laws that we can actually pass that have massive majority support. Most of the things that people are putting forward, and these are the Parkland survivors, things like, of course, banning bump stocks, which is incredibly popular. Over 80% of Americans, I believe, or in at least the high 70s percent of Americans actually do agree with. Banning high-capacity magazines, raising the age of, being able to buy a gun to 21 years old, things like that are incredibly popular with the American people. I did some polls on that yesterday. But what is our Congress doing? They're deregulating the banks. They don't care about the will of the American people. In a real democracy or a representative republic, the people should be represented. This should be an issue that they would take up, but they don't represent us anymore. They represent the banks. That's why they're taking up this crapo bill, this deregulation bill, instead of actually taking up an issue that, millions of Americans are basically really galvanized on actually doing something about. They don't care about you. They care about their donors. They serve their donors. Most of the people in the Senate, Republicans and Democrats included, take money from the financial industry. And again, this crapo bill, this is going to be bipartisan. There are Democrats, corporate Democrats, that are like, yes, absolutely, let's deregulate the banks. Because that's actually what we really care about. That's what our donors want. Our donors don't care about gun control. And look, some of our donors, Republican side, a lot of the people on the Republican side get paid by the NRA. So of course they're not going to bring this up. And if they do, look, here's my prediction. So they will eventually bring some pieces of gun control to the Senate. But they'll only do so when the fervor for gun control measures has died down. Right now, we're at a historic high. 70% of the American people want gun control. This is the highest that it's been since 1993. They're going to wait until support dies back down, if that's ever going to happen, because as I see it, we're going to continue to have more and more mass shootings and more shootings overall, and they're going to continue to be covered. So, but look, that's what they're going to do. They're going to try and wait for a time where they can put this up and then quietly vote it down. They want to get back to business as usual. And in the meantime, they're going to do all that they can to deregulate industry. That's who they, because again, that's who they work for. That's who they serve. And they're not representing you. And that's exactly why we need to get money out of politics. This whole sickness that we have in the government of us actually not doing anything about gun control and having our politicians continue to deregulate industries like the financial industry that caused the 2008 financial crisis. All that is caused by the sickness of money in politics. We have got to get the money out so that we can actually get representatives that represent us. Or else you're going to get people like Mitch McConnell. Okay. All right, I'm going to take a quick break here. We'll be back. We got more stories, so stay right here around the nation. We'll be right back. Everybody, welcome back to the show. Run the Nation right here, TOT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. More stories. Let's dive in. Let's change gears here and talk about some fun internal White House drama. Okay. After I set this up. Okay. Nope. There we go. The saga of John Kelly continues. Now, of course, there's a lot of rumors going around in the White House, as there usually is, about whether or not John Kelly is going to leave or whether or not he's actually trying to get himself fired. I would think that it's the latter, but based on some of the statements that he has made before, I will get into that. But first, he's got a new statement that's out today. Well, that actually came out yesterday. And this was during a event marking the Department of Homeland Security's 15th anniversary. He made these statements. Let's take a look.
Almost no right to be up here on the stage. I mean, I was in the department.
You have every right to be here.
And I miss every one of you every day. I went. Truly, at 6 months, the last thing I wanted to do was walk away from one of the great honors of my life, being the Secretary of Homeland Security. But I did something wrong, and God punished me, I guess.
All right, so look, you can take that as a joke, or not. I tend to think that it's kind of half a joke, and the other half of, oh my God, I've got to work for Donald Trump. Again, he doesn't necessarily seem to be very, very happy in his position. And from other reports that I had read previously, he saw this position as an act of duty. Like, hey, man, I got to be one of the adults in the room to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't accidentally blow ourselves up or blow up another country or do whatever or, inflame hostilities with North Korea. Good job, by the way. Great job, Kelly. But there's only so much, of course, he can do when you're dealing with somebody like President Trump. So now this, of course, is one of the several statements that he has made. I remember talking about a story when he had previously threatened to resign. And apparently he used to use that in order to get Trump to basically do and make the changes that he wanted Trump to make in the White House. Now, those changes, of course, were restricting access to the president, something that Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump were not necessarily happy about. Anthony Scaramucci lasted 11 days, was fired by John Kelly, so he's not exactly happy with the changes. But it did bring some stability to a very, very unstable White House, which I think was like the one decent contribution that John Kelly has made. Now, look, I'm no fan of Kelly. He's very, very anti-immigrant, very, very right-wing. So I don't agree with him on basically anything, but I at least give him some credit here for actually putting facts in front of the president, instead of allowing Steve Bannon, of course, when he was there, to basically put the latest issue of Breitbart on Trump's desk, or when Omarosa was working there, putting the latest video or article of Morning Joe in front of the president and saying, oh my God, do you see this? Look at this. And then getting Trump to be all pissed off and tweet for the rest of the day. Donald Trump has, of course, some anger issues, and he's very, very easy to get him to fly into a rage, which, of course, you'll see on Twitter. So John Kelly tried to put a stop to that. At least he put a stop to a lot of the stuff in front of, ending up in front of Donald Trump, stuff that, again, was not factual in nature, at least. And that's one of the contributions, the biggest contribution that John Kelly's actually made. But he might not be there much longer. Again, there's been a lot of speculation about him either resigning or being fired. And he hasn't actually been helping himself either. The whole situation with Rob Porter, him not doing the security clearances, and then denying Jared Kushner a security clearance. You would think that that would put him at odds with the president. Not only that, but he remarked privately, and then it somehow got out that, oh, Ivanka, I can't believe what she's doing. She's playing government. I mean, she's not really serious about this. She has no qualifications, she doesn't know anything, which is absolutely 100% like true. Nonetheless, John Kelly saying, I don't give a shit. I don't like Jared Kushner, and I don't like Ivanka Trump, and they don't like me either. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? So now we've set up a situation where you've got John Kelly versus Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. I wonder what's going to happen. It's going to get very, very interesting. But as you can see, John Kelly, he gives no more fucks about what's going on in the White House. And again, this could either lead to his departure or his elevation. We'll have to see what happens. Okay. And I actually have a story on that. So, but first, before I get into the next story, I want to thank Platypie. She says, oh, thank you very much. I almost feel embarrassed reading this because, like, I don't know. Thank you. Jeff is a wonderful person. Keep up the amazing. Thank you so much. And no, I'm not an amazing person. I'm not a wonderful person. I'm just trying to do what I got to do to help inform you guys. You guys are the good people. You're the amazing people. You actually do the work. So thank you so much, though. I appreciate it greatly. I don't know how to take compliments sometimes. But thank you. I appreciate you. All of you. Okay. Moving on. More White House drama. Okay. So now recently there's been a lot of drama in the White House concerning John Kelly, Ivanka Trump, and Jared Kushner. And Jared Kushner has not been having a very good week. He just recently lost his security clearance. He got downgraded, which is very, very embarrassing. He's had a lot of scandal recently involving him, and of course involved with the Russian investigation. So, as I said, Jared Kushner not exactly the most popular person in the White House right now. And so, look, there's a lot of dysfunction going on. And I'm sure you guys already know this, but I'm going to get into some of the details according to sources inside of the White House. Apparently, Mr. Trump is isolated and angry. And there are other reports saying that that actually fed into what he did with tariffs. He was pissed off and he wanted to lash out at something. So here we go. Let's put some tariffs on. Wonderful. Without even knowing what the effect of the economy is actually going to be. And there's a lot of experts that are like, no, don't put on these tariffs. It's going to actually make American goods more expensive. It's going to make it more expensive for people to import goods into America. So you're going to hurt consumers. You're going to hurt the economy at large by putting in some of these tariffs. Well, Donald Trump didn't care. He just wanted to lash out at somebody. So now, according to friends and aides, he is isolated and he is angry as he continues to carry on a bitter feud with his attorney general and watch his members of his family clash with the chief of staff he recruited to restore a semblance of order. Now, this is from the New York Times. This is Maggie Haberman, who's reporting on this. Again, she's talking to insiders into the White House. And she says that, well, without Mr. Porter, that's Rob Porter, playing a stopgap role on trade, the debate has been marked by a lack of focus on policy and planning. And that's why you saw just a rollout of tariffs that are supposed to be protective tariffs. But again, they don't always work. They will have some sort of effect. This is tariffs on both steel and aluminum, which again is likely going to impact consumers. at this point. And look, I understand. I understand why you would want to do forms of protectionism in order to spur manufacturing at home. But you would want to make sure that there is a manufacturing base at home that would be able to pick up the slack. In this point in time, we don't have that manufacturing capability set up. Most of our factories are now overseas. We get most of our steel from other countries and most of our aluminum from other countries. So again, you're going to have an impact on the economy and on the consumer, which is likely not going to be very good. So that's why I'm against what he's recently done. Now, back into the White House. Well, it turns out all this stuff and all the scandals and all the infighting has deeply impacted morale. They said, quote, "Morale in the West Wing has sunk to a new low. In private conversations, Mr. Trump lashes out regularly at Attorney General Jeff Sessions with a vitriol that stuns members of his staff." Now, these people inside the White House are saying, hey, man, look, morale in the West Wing, really, really low. We are not happy here. In fact, we haven't been happy for a long time. Everything's going absolutely crazy. Did you see what happened with Jeff Sessions? Do you see what's happening? And so, in fact, a recent tweet from Trump, he said, "Why is AG Sessions asking the Inspector General to investigate potentially massive FISA abuse? Will take forever, has no prosecutorial power, and already late with reports on Comey, etc. Isn't the IG an Obama guy? Why not use Justice Department lawyers? Disgraceful." Well, wait a minute. You're basically, like, Jeff Sessions is doing the political hit job that you told him to. He's investigating all this stuff, right, that you told him to investigate in order to go after the FBI. And now you're saying, oh, why did you use the Inspector General? Because that's what you're supposed to do. Look, Jeff Sessions is doing his job. I don't like anything Jeff Sessions does, but he is actually doing the proper procedure. And here's Donald Trump saying, disgraceful, disgraceful. But look, it's not about this, right? No. According to some longtime advisors, they said that Mr. Trump regards Mr. Sessions' decision to recuse himself from the Russia investigation as the, quote, original sin, which the president thinks left him exposed. Exposed to what? If you haven't done anything, then what's there to worry about? That's my question. Why get so upset over an investigation that you know personally isn't going to lead anywhere and is just a witch hunt? Again, his reactions to things make me think that there's actually something more to this. That there might actually be something to this Russia investigation into him. Again, I don't have any proof of that. I admit that I don't have any proof of that. You know who's got the proof of that? If there is any, it would be Robert Mueller. Anyway. Now, Sessions, of course, fired back on this, and he said, quote, "As long as I'm the Attorney General, I will continue to discharge my duties with integrity and honor. And this department will continue to do its work in a fair and impartial manner." I don't know why I'm using that accent. "According to the law and Constitution." Okay, again, he's doing his job. He's doing the way that he's doing this, I guess, hatchet job investigation, this hack investigation, the way that he's actually supposed to do it. Because if you're going to do an investigation, at least you're going to do it like you got to follow the law in doing these investigations, and that's what he's doing. And he's getting yelled at by Trump because Trump, look, he's angry. He wants to lash out at things. Now, more drama, and this involves, of course, John Kelly versus Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. Now, Mr. Trump's children, Haberman writes, meanwhile, have grown exasperated with Mr. Kelly, seeing him as a hurdle to their father's success and as antagonistic to their continued presence, according to several people familiar with their thinking. Anthony Scaramucci, an ally of someone in the Trump family, whom Mr. Kelly fired as communications director after only 11 days, that's got to be a record, intensified his criticism of the chief of staff in a series of news interviews on Wednesday and Thursday. Yet Mr. Trump is also frustrated with Mr. Kushner. Oh, see, that's interesting, because now it's not just John Kelly versus Ivanka and Kushner. Now Donald Trump is beginning to take sides. Uh-oh. He said Mr. Trump is also frustrated with Kushner, whom he now views as a liability because of his legal entanglements. The investigations of the Kushner family's real estate company and the publicity over having his security clearance downgraded, according to two people familiar with his views, according to two people familiar with Trump's views. So Trump is getting very frustrated with Mr. Kushner because he's drawing too much attention to himself. I mean, God forbid you steal any sort of attention from Donald Trump, but his blundering, and I'm talking about Jared Kushner here because Jared Kushner is basically a mini Donald Trump. He's not very smart, and he tends to get himself into a lot of trouble. That's what Kushner is doing. And again, he's got ties with, and I've got a story later on where he sought money from the country of Qatar. Now, look, you try to get loans from Qatar. That's again not necessarily shady when you're doing an investment business, when you're doing real estate. But what he did afterwards is actually push back against Rex Tillerson and ensure a blockade of Qatar. Oh, great. But again, that's another story. And of course, his real estate holdings are in big trouble, which is a giant threat to the Kushner family fortune. So that's more embarrassment because to Donald Trump, if you are not wealthy, you are a loser. You are sad. Baby. All right. Now, in private conversations, the president vacillates between sounding regretful that Mr. Kushner is taking arrows and annoyed that he is another problem to deal with. Privately, some aides have expressed frustration that Mr. Kushner and his wife, the president's daughter Ivanka Trump, have remained at the White House despite Mr. Trump at times saying that they never should have come to the White House and should leave. Yet aides also noted that Mr. Trump has told the couple that they should keep serving in their roles, even as he has asked privately Mr. Kelly for his help in moving them out. Fascinating. So what this tells me, and you're like, wait a minute, is Trump supporting Ivanka and Jared, or is he supporting John Kelly? I don't know. See, this is classic Trump. There's too much ambiguity. He cannot make a decision. One minute he's like, God damn it, Jared Kushner, what are you doing getting in trouble? And then on the other hand, it's like, Jared Kushner, why? Why is the media attacking you so much? Poor guy. And Ivanka, I want you to stay here because you're just a wonderful advisor to me. John Kelly, get him out of here. Get him out. This is a guy who can't make up his mind. Insanity. This is utter insanity that's going on in the White House. Now, let me tell you, or ask you guys, who do you think is going to go first? John Kelly or Ivanka and Jared? Again, John Kelly has not exactly been endearing himself to the president. He has been, of course, critical of both Jared and Ivanka, which actually does, I guess, play into the president's decision of, or possible decision of, maybe we should get rid of Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. But then also, he recently said, well, let me show you the video here. He recently said this.
I have almost no right to be up here on the stage. I mean, I was in the department.
You have every right to be
here. And I miss every one of you every day. I went... Truly, at 6 months, the last thing I wanted to do was walk away from one of the great honors of my life, being the Secretary of Homeland Security. But I did something wrong, and God punished me, I guess.
God punished me. God punished me putting me as chief of staff of the Trump administration. Look, is it a joke? Will Donald Trump take it as a joke? I have no idea. But again, there's been a lot of talk of John Kelly leaving. And after the Rob Porter scandal, of course, you had a lot of that speculation inside the White House. So look, I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know what'll happen if John Kelly is gone. Utter chaos. Again, Kelly, his one positive role is to make sure that crazy people didn't hand Donald Trump just basically anything, some weird right-wing blog. No, they actually made sure that he had facts on his desk. Without John Kelly trying to keep order, here come the clowns, and they're back in. So, again, where Trump is going to land on whether to keep John Kelly because Ivanka and Jared have the knives out for him, or eliminate Ivanka and Jared, we don't know. We don't know where he's going to land. But it's going to serve to be very, very interesting as time moves on. Grab your popcorn, everybody. It's going to get real. Okay. All this infighting, it's fascinating. It shows that this thing is falling apart faster than I think we could ever figure out. Okay. Let's go to one of the problems of Jared Kushner. His presidential advisor, Jared Kushner, has had a pretty bad week. Not only did he get downgraded in his security clearance, but there's also been a couple of scandals, one of which I'm going to share with you today. Apparently, a real estate firm tied to Kushner had actually tried to get a deal from the government of Qatar in order to secure an investment for one of his properties. And this property is 666 Fifth Avenue. If that isn't a portent to doom, I don't know what is. Okay. Anyway, now, so Kushner and his company, they tried to secure this loan because that property is a gigantic money sink. That property is also a very, very big investment for the Kushner family, and their fortune kind of rests on it. Oh boy. Now, The Intercept reports that the failure to broker the deal would be followed only a month later by a Middle Eastern diplomatic row in which Jared Kushner provided critical support for Qatar's neighbors. So what happened is that Qatar basically shut this deal down. First, they approached him for $500 million in financing for the 666 Fifth Avenue. And they said, okay, we can provide the $500 million if you can get other lenders to bring in their support. We're not going to cover the whole thing. So that's a condition. We won't give you the money unless you give us additional backers, or you get additional backers. So when that didn't happen, the deal basically fell through. Kushner was not happy. And according to reports at the time, he undermined efforts by Secretary of State Rex Tillerson to bring an end to a blockade of Qatar. So basically, since he did not get that investment, he was like, that's it. Let's go after Qatar. Look, I'm in power. I'm going to use my power to go after a country that denied me loans. Oh boy. Now, they give you some background here. Now, on June 9th, after Saudi Arabia and the UAE had begun to blockade Qatar, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson sought to calm nerves, calling for mediation and an immediate end to the blockade. Within hours, Trump, at a White House ceremony, contradicted Tillerson, slamming Qatar again and claiming it had historically been a funder of terrorism at a very high level. So Donald Trump goes out there and says, Qatar, terrorism, we need to blockade them. Did you go Saudi Arabia? But wait, if you're talking about terrorism, then one of the biggest purveyors of terrorism or fundamentalism in the Middle East is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has spread fundamentalist Wahhabist Islam, which is the extremely fundamentalist sect of Islam that preaches violence and like all the terrible stuff that Islamic jihadist extremists actually do. So that's the stuff that Saudi Arabia had spread all across the Middle East. So most of the, and look, that's one of the reasons why most of the 9/11 hijackers had come from Saudi Arabia. And not to mention that Saudi Arabia, of course, is an incredibly fundamentalist government at this point. They still behead people for apostasy and witchcraft. They go after the LGBT community there, all that stuff. So why are we their allies? Oh, right. We're the allies because of the petrodollar and also Middle Eastern alliances. So now, while he's in Saudi Arabia, and you remember that picture of him like putting his hand on the orb? Fucking weirdo. Anyway, so he was there and he said, we got to block Qatar. We got to work together with the United Arab Emirates to block Qatar. Okay, now, it turns out that Trump's remarks were not coming from the mind of Donald Trump. You know why? It's because there's nothing in the mind of Donald Trump. Actually, and this is according to what Tillerson had come to believe, had been written by UAE Ambassador Yusuf al-Otaiba and delivered to Trump by Jared Kushner. Kushner's like, oh, UAE Ambassador, who actually will benefit from this blockade of Qatar. I will now go and deliver this message to a country that refused to give me money for one of my investments. It's mutually beneficial for all of us, and Trump's an idiot. He's got an empty head. All we have to do is just tell him, oh, Qatar's so bad. They're terrible people. Did you know that they back terrorism? Oh my God, I didn't know that. We got to go after Qatar. We got to blockade Qatar. Okay. Now, the Intercept continues. The Gulf crisis involving Qatar and its neighbors will likely be Kushner's defining foreign policy legacy. The crisis followed a May visit to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, by Kushner and President Trump, who subsequently took credit for Saudi Arabia and its allies' efforts against Qatar. The fallout has reshaped geopolitical alliances in the region, splitting the Gulf Cooperation Council and pushing Qatar home to the Middle East's largest U.S. military base, closer to Turkey and Iran. So that has real implications in the Middle East. We have a base there. And we're going to push that country, the government of that country, closer to countries that are not necessarily allied to us. Yes, Turkey is one of our bigger allies, but at the same time, Turkey is now being run by a fundamentalist Muslim government, where in the past they were actually a more secular government. That doesn't seem to be like a smart idea. But trust me, Donald Trump says he's like a smart person. But he's a very stable genius. Okay. But look, it's not Donald Trump that's coming up with these ideas. No, he's taking it from Jared Kushner, who's a terrible advisor. And Jared Kushner is taking it from Yusuf al-Otaiba. Maybe if I probably got that wrong. Now, this is not the first time that Kushner has been burned by the Qataris. But it is the first direct pitch known to be made after to the Minister of Finance himself. Notably, this play came after Donald Trump's election. See, before, he tried to make some pitches, and Qatar's like, yeah, whatever. We don't really care about you. We don't care about your real estate. We're not going to do any deals with you. Now, Kushner gets a measure of power, and he says, hey, Qatar, do you want to renegotiate the deal? Do you actually want to go and do a deal? That's when they were interested. Now, it wasn't just Jared. It was also his father, Charles, that was involved in trying to get money from Qatar. Because, again, this piece of property is actually very important to the Kushner empire. Okay. Now, The Intercept first reported last summer that Charles Kushner had propositioned Sheikh Hamad bin Jassim Al Thani, that is a big name, a prominent businessman who previously served as the country's foreign minister and prime minister. The deal, proffered by HBJ, as he is known, was worth $500 million, but ultimately fell through when Kushner companies failed to secure outside capital. That 2017 effort allowed previous entreaties to be made in the region by Jared Kushner himself. The news of Kushner Company's direct pitch to the Qatari government puts a Wednesday report from the Washington Post into broader context. U.S. intelligence services, the paper reported, had determined that officials in 4 countries the United Arab Emirates, China, Israel, and Mexico had been privately discussing how to use Jared Kushner's real estate investments as a way to gain leverage over him in order to influence official U.S. policy. So when Qatar didn't do this deal, he still influenced U.S. foreign policy, but as an act of revenge against people who wouldn't give him money. But that's not the only reason that he would do it. Also as a way of warning the other countries, hey, look, if you play ball, you might actually get rewarded. If you don't play ball, then I will use my power and my position to basically make things very, very difficult for you. Now, where do you want to sign the check? That's what's going on here. So, it is corruption 101. This administration is incredibly corrupt. And look, we've had corrupt administrations before, no doubt. But I think this one might actually be the most corrupt, at least the most corrupt that I've ever seen. And so, look, again, this is a way for him to make money off his position. Now, those of you say, no, wait a minute. Now, Kushner has divested, right? He's only divested a small portion of Kushner companies. In fact, he has actually retained substantial ownership. Now, according to The Intercept, a balloon payment due in 2018 on the badly underwater property at 666 Fifth Avenue has been a ticking clock in the fortunes of the Kushner family, precipitating the global hunt for capital. The Washington Post reported earlier this year that the father and son pair, Jared and Charles Kushner, speak on a daily basis. So what they're doing is that they're, of course, since Kushner is not divested completely and actually has a huge ownership stake in the company, he's going to be using his position in order to hunt for more capital. And when he didn't get the capital from Qatar or however you say it, then he's going to use his position to punish that country. And of course, there was investment that he had received from another country. And this is from Israel. He had received $30 million investment from Menorah Mivtachim, described as one of Israel's largest financial institutions. So Israel is going to be fine because they invested in Kushner. But Qatar, not going to be fine. Under blockade, which is going to have significant financial impacts on that country. Again, this is corruption. This is another member of the Trump family using his power and position in order to extract personal gain, personal wealth. It's all another day in the Trump administration. Okay. We got more. I didn't think that I would go that long. A bunch more stories. Okay. This is another story of corruption. Now, recently, President Trump just put in some tariffs on steel and aluminum. Now, that, of course, will have some economic impacts to that. I'm not sure exactly how bad these economic impacts will be, but of course it will be consumers at the end that will ultimately pay the price. Now, there are some people that are actually benefiting or stand to benefit from this or have benefited from this already. One of them happens to be billionaire Carl Icahn. Now, Icahn, it's reported, dumped $31.3 million worth of stock in a company that happens to be dependent on steel last week. Happened to be days before Trump announced plans to impose tariffs on steel. Uh-oh. In a little noticed SEC filing submitted on February 22nd, 2018, Icahn disclosed that he systematically sold off nearly 1 million shares of Manitowoc Company Incorporated. Now, Manitowoc is a leading global manufacturer of cranes and lifting solutions, and therefore is heavily dependent on steel to make his products, or to make its products. Now, the filing came just 7 days before a White House event where Trump announced his intention of imposing a 25% tariff on steel imports. So, of course, the result of that we're seeing in the stock market is a huge dip in any company that is dependent on steel. In fact, Manitowoc lost about 6% of its total stock value. Now, Reuters attributed the drop to the fact that Manitowoc is a major consumer of steel. Now, it had lost, as of Friday, earlier this morning, the stock had lost an additional 6%, trading at $26. So Icahn was required to make this disclosure because of the large volume of his sale. Again, 1 million shares. That is a lot of shares. Now, the filing reveals that he began systematically selling the stock on February 12th, when he was able to sell the stock for $32 to $34. Now, Wilbur Ross, of course, released a report on February 16th calling for a 24% tariff. But as the chart in the FCC filing indicates, Icahn started selling his Manitowoc stock on February 12th prior to the public release of that report. And yet before February, Icahn was not actively trading this stock. So look, basically what this points out is that here you have a billionaire and a Trump ally, Carl Icahn, somehow knowing or seemingly knowing before it happened what Donald Trump was actually going to do when it comes to this, when it comes to shares of steel, or when it comes to tariffs that will impact the shares of steel. Did he know beforehand? It seems very likely. According to Think Progress, Icahn, a billionaire investor with far-flung holdings, is a close associate of Trump who invoked Icahn's name repeatedly on the campaign trail. Once in office, Trump installed Icahn as a special advisor, although Icahn did not unwind his business entanglements for accepting the position. Icahn then resigned in August in advance of a New Yorker article which detailed how he used his position in the White House and his connection to Trump to protect his investments. So it's not as if Carl Icahn has not used his position in the White House when he was there to protect his own money. And now here we go, another story of Carl Icahn protecting his own money from the Trump administration, or seemingly having knowledge of what the Trump administration was planning on doing. Look, man, Icahn is one of the richest people on Wall Street. And he's been very successful at making more and more money and protecting his investments. Why do you think that is? Look, I don't know for certain that he had insider knowledge, but it seems like he had insider knowledge. And it's because of his frequent contacts with Trump. Now, of course, he says, no, I haven't talked to Trump in a long time. In fact, we haven't had much interaction in the last 4 to 5 months. Really? Really? You don't think Trump's going to be like, hey, guess what, Carl? I think I might actually do the tariffs on steel. Oh, are you? Gee, I better go and, look at the time. I got to go. Sell. I got to sell now. You don't think that's going to happen, or you don't think that happened? I'm almost certain it happened. Again, I can't prove it, but I'm almost certain it happened. This is way too much of a coincidence. Here you have is somebody who's obviously very close to Trump, makes a lot of money, and was going to make a lot of money on this decision to raise tariffs. So, look, there's the information. Take it as you will, but I for sure think that this is just another example of corruption. Okay. You know, I'm going to be running late, so look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a break, and then we'll come back. We've got a couple more stories, including Kim Davis and Alex Jones. We'll be right back. Stay right here. All right, welcome back to the show, Around the Nation, right here at TYT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. If you haven't already, please give us a like and a share. And also think about subscribing to the channel if you want to see more live streams and more great videos. All right, let's jump in to the story. We got Kim Davis. This is fun. All right. Oh, boy. All right. So Kim Davis is back in the news. For those of you who don't remember, she was the clerk who refused to issue marriage licenses to gay couples. That is right after the Supreme Court ruled that gay marriage was the law of the land back in 2015. Now, she is back, and she is out with a brand new book. As you can see the cover there, Under God's Authority, the Kim Davis story. According to the book's description, it's a true story that goes behind the scenes to reveal how God gave this unlikely candidate a platform to defend marriage and religious freedom. Yes, she's defending marriage. Oh, boy. Okay. So, look, I got some problems with this. For one, look, I don't care about people's personal lives. Let me just put that disclaimer out there already. If you do things in your personal life, that should stay in your personal life, right? So it doesn't matter to me, like, where you want to get married or who you want to get married to, who you love, who you have sex with. Let's get out of people's bedrooms. But the one thing that I can't stand is hypocrisy. So this leads me, of course, to Kim Davis. She says, oh, I got to defend the sanctity of marriage against the homosexuals. In fact, she said that while she was, quote, defending religious marriage, she was facing down hordes of fist-pumping homosexuals. Yeah, okay. Whatever, dude. But on the sanctity issue, you were married 4 times. Again, normally I don't judge people based on that because I'm not a religious, like I'm not I'm not like a conservative idiot, right? I'm not going to go and do that. I don't care what you do in your life. But I do care the hypocrisy in saying that I need to defend the sanctity of marriage by preventing gay people who love each other from getting married, but I'm going to go and get married 4 different times and divorce. I'm pretty sure divorce is illegal in the Bible. Or it's not very biblical. And you're not exactly defending the sanctity of marriage by getting married and divorced 4 times. So, look, again, her situation is a situation of hypocrisy. And I think it's our right to call out that hypocrisy as we see it. Again, if you believe in the sanctity of marriage, good for you. But don't, go and try to deny people their rights to get married under the law, which is what happened in Kentucky. Now, weirdly enough, and a lot of stuff came out about Kim Davis when this whole thing boiled over. In fact, she's a Democrat, and she's running for re-election. In fact, it's reported that she's running for re-election to retain her seat as Rowan County Clerk. However, her opponent is a man named David Arnold. Now, who's David Arnold, and why is he important? Arnold was actually one of the people that was denied a marriage license. Oops. So now he's running against her in order to take her seat. That's awesome. In fact, Arnold said, quote, to ABC News, she will have quite a few organizations backing her. There's a lot of these conservative organizations, by the way, which helped her write her book. And she said, he said she will get a lot of attention from it. I was very disappointed in the presidential election, and I think there needs to be more integrity. I think politicians need to answer some questions. And he also said, quote, communities need to get back to embracing diversity. We must recommit ourselves to embracing diversity within our community, and we must stand strong against those who have turned their backs on our people to pursue their divisive agenda of outside politicians and organizations. And of course, that's a couple of shots towards Kim Davis on her support of all these conservative organizations that are defending her and raising her up as some sort of free speech, religious, freedom of religion champion, when actually she's nothing more than an anti-gay bigot. So, don't talk to me about the sanctity of marriage when all you're going to do is, look, hey man, it's good for me, but not for thee, right? I'm going to go and I'm going to be as unsanctified when it comes to my marriages as possible, get married as many times as I want, but when it comes to you, if you have live a different lifestyle, no, I don't care. I'm going to go and I'm going to prevent you from getting married to the people that you love. And I'm going to call it sanctity. I'm going to call it religious freedom. Get the fuck out of here. It's not at all what we should be doing. So, hey, man, look, if you're tired of Kim Davis and you want to get her out of there, well, now she's got an opponent. So, maybe think about backing David Arnold. Okay. Okay. Let's move on. The Daily Mail is reporting that conspiracy theorist Alex Jones is being sued for discrimination and sexual harassment of two different former employees. Oh, no. Really? Somebody who takes super beta vitality or super alpha male vitality doing sexual harassment? No way. No. Okay, well, let's see the allegations, right? Because, again, this is the Daily Mail, which is not exactly the most trustworthy publication. But nonetheless, they claim that they've received reports from these two individuals who are suing Jones. Now, one of them is Rob Jacobson. Now, Rob Jacobson, of course, had worked for InfoWars, or at least the company that owns InfoWars. I believe that is, Free Speech Systems? That's it. That's InfoWars' parent company. He had worked for them for about 10 years. Now, during that time, of course, he claims that he was bullied and harassed by not only Jones, but also different people who had worked on the production. Now, apparently, some of that, and I'm sorry, it's not 10 years. He worked there for 13 years. Jesus. Now, apparently, Jones had allegedly joked with staff who called him, quote, the Jewish individual, the resident Jew, and shouted Jacobson across the office. Now that's just to show you how insane right-wing that they are. That they're anti-Semitic. that they're having anti-Semitic and basically saying, "Oh, Jew, terrible. What's wrong with Jewish people?" Like, I don't. But see, it doesn't impact you unless you're part of the right wing. Now, what Jones' thing is, oh, I'm going to go after the globalists. I'm going to go after the elite. Well, who is that? Who's the globalist? Who's the elite? Oh, it's the Jews. Again, the far right is deeply enmeshed in anti-Semitism. You open up that box, that's what comes out. So now he's like, I don't know what they're doing. They're calling me a Jew. And that, again, is apparently something that is terrible. One of the worst things that you can be over at InfoWars. Now, Jacobson claims also that he was passed over for promotions and raises, which instead went to far less experienced employees, adding that his firing was both discrimination and in retaliation for my complaints to HR. Now, look, I was going to say one more thing about old bullying and harassment. Well, wait a minute, Jacobson. I thought you were a right winger. I thought you weren't a snowflake. Oh, the people hurting my feelings, calling me, harassing me, snowflake. But anyway, no, look, you shouldn't actually do that at the job. Like, just imagine if that was something that was going on. If I had employees and I was constantly harassing somebody, I wouldn't even think of doing that. It's insanity. No, actually, I do believe in treating your employees like decent human beings, and not doing, and not harassing them and calling them terrible names and like especially like, I guess ethnic and racial slurs, which we're gonna get to later on. Now, of course, actually, we're gonna get to that now, and this is the story of Ashley Beckford. Now, Ashley Beckford is the other employee that had accused Jones of discrimination. Now, this is a former production assistant. She said that she joined Free Speech Systems in June 2016, and the discrimination began almost immediately. Now, Ashley Beckford is an African American, so you can imagine where that stems from. According to an EEOC complaint she has filed, quote, I was subject to different terms and conditions of employment in comparison to my non-black African American peers when it came to my salaries and wages and benefits, and in regards to my dress, including my hairstyle. Now, are you saying that as a result of being African American, Alex Jones and his company paid you less, gave you less benefits, and told you not to wear your natural hair? No! Shocker! I know, I am shocked and chagrined. Yeah, of course! Jones is, and a lot of these people on the alt-right are also incredibly racist, as well as being anti-Semitic. In fact, she even said, I'm not saying that, she says that, quote, I was also subjected to harassment and racial slurs by respondents' management and some peer colleagues, as well as subjected to sexual harassment and a hostile, sexually offensive work environment. Now, again, what you're telling me that, again, somebody who sells super alpha male vitality pills would be sexist? Oh my God, not Alex Jones. No, no, nobody working there would be absolutely sexist at all. Are you kidding me? She claims that Jones made sexual advances towards her and made a lot of comments about her having a good body that looked like I worked out a lot. She also wrote in the complaint, it's my opinion that it was his intention to see if he could groom me for sexual exploitation. Again, this wouldn't be at all a surprise. Again, it's got to be adjudicated, and I have to be very, very clear about that. This does have to go through the court system. In fact, Alex Jones, of course, claims that, no, all these are lies. It's a false flag. They're trying to ruin me. They're trying to ruin me. So, in fact, he said, quote, there were never any complaints filed or anything done to HR. And said, come on, man, this is total fiction. 100% false, not true. And by the way, I'm going to sue you now. Yes, he has actually threatened legal action against both Jacobson and Beckford. Now, I have more information about the conditions inside of the InfoWars studio, I guess. Now, she said, quote, Alex also spent his time shirtless, while endlessly leering, with or without a shirt, at female guests and employees, while creating a disgusting hostile environment. Alex Jones, shirtless? Well, when has Alex Jones ever been shirtless? Oh, wait. Oops. That would appear to be Alex Jones shirtless. I got another one. That would also appear to be Alex Jones shirtless. No, 100% false. I would never do that around the office. Look, and I'm sorry for that. I should have given a trigger warning on that one, or a disclaimer. I'm about to show Alex Jones shirtless. Hide your kids. Hide your eyes. Sorry. But look, that's what apparently Beckford had to deal with day in and day out. Could you imagine? Ugh. Now, one more. And it's not just about being shirtless. Okay, so we've had already, look, sexual harassment. We've had some racial comments, possible sexual exploitation. But now here comes sexual assault. And this is actually very serious. According to the filing, she claims that Jones groped her butt after initiating a side hug while pretending to feel sympathy over an incident Beckford was involved in. Now, the complaint also states that he was simultaneously commenting to those in the room, quote, who wouldn't want to have a black wife? Oh, see, I'm not racist. No, I'm not racist at all. Who wouldn't want to have a black wife? Look at me, I'm going to grab her butt while I'm shirtless. No, if these are true, oh boy, that is disastrous. Again, it has to be adjudicated, so we don't know if these are true, but we also don't know that they're false. And so, look, hey, this has got to go through the court system. They'll find out whether it's true or not. They'll find out all the details. And believe me, this goes to court. There's going to be a lot more details. So we're going to see what happens on that. Now, Jones again responds to Rob Jacobson. He says, quote, I'm not going to talk about my former employees. I mean, nobody accuses me of stuff like that. No. And in fact, I'm not the type of person to say those kinds of things. So that's why my feelings are hurt. Wow, that's all I can say. That's total bullshit. Hey, man, oh, my feelings are hurt. Oh, how sad. Now, he also says, and I love this quote, I just wish Rob well, and I hope that he has a great life, and I just hope that he is successful in everything he does. I wish him well with his fiction career. Again, he could have stopped at that first sentence, right? No, he's going to go on. I wish him well in his fiction career. I'm going to take the high road. I'm not giving up on Rob, and I'm not giving up on humanity.
That's the fight. That's the key. That's everything.
Also heard at the InfoWars office.
We're under attack.
It may
is an alien force.
It may be.
World.
It may be an alien force, or
it's the devil. Okay.
Okay. Anyway, I'm having too much fun with this. But nonetheless, as I said, we have to see if this is true or not. These are allegations. It's got to go through all the legal proceedings. But nonetheless, if these are true, these wouldn't at all be surprising to me. Somebody who's watched Alex Jones' career with horror and disgust. Okay. Man. All right, everybody. That's it. That's all we got for today. Oh, By the way.
It's not human intelligence!
I can't help it. I love these.
I want to go to space. I want to see interdimensional travel.
Well, you know what? You might just have your chance. All right. Again, I'm having too much fun, so it's time to get the hell out of here. Thanks, everybody, for joining here. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, like this video, like the stream. You can go and check out our videos, youtube.com/TYTNation. If you want to support us, go to patreon.com/TYTNation. Again, thanks for the super chats. That's awesome. That helps the show a lot as well. It helps keep us independent and non-corporate sponsored. So, all right, everybody. Love you guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, TYT Nation. We'll see you on Monday.